Well, welcome everyone to our Wednesday call that is going to be all about how we can help our shelters and we don't even have to go in because I know that personally, I know how hard that is. Although with our Let Animals Lead Animal Reiki practice, for me personally, I was able to find the strength to go into a shelter and not cry by doing the precepts. And so many of you might know the precepts for today only. Do not worry, or do not anger, do not worry, be honest, be humble, be grateful. There's also some precepts say be diligent in your work and then show compassion to yourself and to others. But when we say those things, we remind ourselves that when we can live without anger and when we can live without worry, we can be our true self, which is a loving, kind, compassionate, honest, humble, grateful being that can truly show true compassion, not pity, but compassion, not only to animals and other beings, but to ourselves. And so that really helped me find the strength to get into a shelter. And for me, I think the first shelter I did that, it was the Humane Society Silicon Valley and in Milton, California. And that, oh, here, I'm going to mute to everybody. That shelter was really great. They had really nice apartments. They treated the animals very well, but that still doesn't mean that there weren't animals in there for a really long time or the animals that were having a really hard time. And I learned that one of the best ways that we can be of service to animals and even to the people who work in the shelter is by being calm, by bringing a calm presence. And that's not easy to do, especially if you're feeling really stressed or really stressed out about like seeing an animal that's been abused. But the best thing that we can do is that abuse has already happened. That abuse is over. Now the animal is safe. So really going back to the simplicity of the all is well mantra, all is well, you are saved, you are loved, all is well. Those are all true statements in the shelter. And those statements can really give you the strength that you need to then go in and be of service to the animals. And even if you're walking the dogs or you're socializing with cats, being in that grounded, just breathing into your belly, breathing into your hara, and then sharing your light and your love with all the animals, it has a huge impact. So recently, we did the Sarah Peace project that we're working on, right? Every Tuesday and Wednesday morning, so this morning as well, at 7 a.m., we send love and light to Monica's shelter in Croatia on Wednesdays. Hey, Monica, I saw that you were here. Thank you so much for joining us. And then to Care, where I am now, every Tuesday. And really what's happened is, and hey, Dawn, thanks so much for joining us. What's happening now with us offering this, and this has only been 2 weeks, it has been really amazing the miracles that have been happening. So for instance, Care was in kind of in the path. I mean, at least it had the outer edges of the hurricane coming right through it, going up into North Carolina and Georgia and the other states. And they didn't have any flooding. They had some downed tree branches and down trees. And thanks so much for joining us, Anne. They had those kind of things, but they didn't have any real damage. And also Kristen said, because I talked to her, I flew in last night and I went straight to Care to go see Kristen and tell her hi. And I was talking to her, we were talking about the Peace Project again. She goes, last Tuesday and this Tuesday, she's like, I just feel the energy. I feel this really weird, just like support and energy. And she's like, I don't know so much with the animals, but she said, but for me, and her stress affects the animals, right? She said for her, she just feels really amazing. And hey, Beth, thanks so much for joining us. So good to see you. So it's working. And then so Monica sent in last week a message from her rescue that basically said, it had total peace. The director sent in that little video. I don't know if you all got to watch it, but go back to that email and watch. Monica was saying, like in the morning time, it's usually pretty chaotic. I mean, it's 500 dogs. There's usually a lot of noise. And the director is like, something's wrong. Something's not right. And she realized it was because it was silent. And she took a quick little video and the whole rescue, 5 dogs. If you've ever been into a shelter with even 40 dogs, you know the cacophony. Thank you, Nicole. The noise that is happening. And yet peace was possible. And we're not even like doing it all at one time, right? We're all doing it at 7 a.m. our time. Or now don't panic if you don't do it at 7 a.m. Whenever you think about them, just stop for a moment and say, oh my gosh, I send you love. I send you support. I send you all my compassion, right? We just stop for that moment and for just a minute, send love and light and happiness, joy, peace, whatever you feel in your body, just send your beautiful light out, because energy doesn't know time or space. So if you're thinking about these beautiful rescues, either Monica's in Croatia or Care in Florida, just send them love every time they come to your mind. You know, if you're and like, so this is a good example. We all know that Care was in the path of the hurricane, but instead of going, oh my gosh, I hope they're well, just go, you know what? I'm sending love. All is well. No matter what happens, all is well, right? And we just have to be in that energy. And it is so incredibly powerful. And I am like literally, like, I know this stuff works, right? I know this stuff works. I teach it. I'm here. I'm sharing it with all of you. But I'm sorry, there are moments like now where I go, oh my God, this really works. Oh my God, this is crazy. Because when Monica reached out, I was just like, I don't even believe this. This is so cool. This is so amazing. And I know not everybody that is here is maybe has participated, but enough people participated that it made a difference. So I'm here to tell you that you don't have to do something big. You don't have to just, oh my gosh, I got to go do. You can just send love and your energy to a shelter or to a person or to an animal or whoever that is, and it's going to work. It's going to be affected. So what was interesting about after I did this peace project, of course, I get messages from people. And I got one recently from one of our supporters that was like, oh, hey, there has been a flash flood in, I think it was Kathmandu, landslides. And so the animals and the people were affected. And she wanted to know if we could do a meditation here today for them. And of course, yes, we're going to include them. But we have to remember, you know, we have North Carolina and Georgia and all these other places, but especially North Carolina got hit really, really hard with Helene. We've got all of the displaced animals in California from all the fires, and the fire season hasn't even started, and they've already had some pretty horrific fires. So we always have animals that are suffering. I mean, you look at the war-torn areas in Lebanon, in Israel, in Gaza, all these places that are getting bombed, Ukraine, and there's animals. There's always animals. Everywhere where there's war and fighting, there's always animals. So we can get caught up in the sadness of that and in the hopelessness and helplessness of it, or we can send our love and create miracles, because your love can create a miracle. And that's what Care and Monica's shelter in Croatia have shown us, especially the Croatian shelter. 500 dogs, completely silent. That's big. I don't know, Monica, if you want to jump on and share a little bit about that since you're here. And we'll give her a moment. I don't know. I can't see. No, she is still here. Maybe she might have. Oh, it looks like she might have fallen off. So I'll come back to Monica. Hopefully she'll rejoin us. But I mean, but that is just an encouragement for us. I mean, I love that the universe is showing us what we do works. And so don't get caught up in, oh, I can't do this, or, oh, this isn't enough, or I'm just one person. You're just one person, but you can make a huge difference. Oh, there's Monica. She is.
Here I am. Hi, everyone. And thank you, whoever participates in these virtual blessings. It really means a lot. I can say I was thinking about it, just this feeling and knowing that someone somewhere in the world is thinking of you and is sending love and positivity. It means so much. It's really touching and overwhelming for me.
Oh, thank you, Monica. And I mean, thank you so much for sharing that video from the director.
Yeah.
So powerful. Do you want to talk a little?
Yes, as I said, I'm sometimes probably subjective, and I think, oh yeah, I know it's working. Like you said, I know it's working. But then when someone else realized it and you see the proof, it is like, oh yeah, it's really working. It's not just in my mind. So yeah, it was really, really, really touching video.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. And please keep us updated as we keep
Of course.
you. Yeah, thank you, Monica. And you made me
Thank you.
emotional because Monica made a really good point. And I think that that's something that's really important for all of us to remember is that just like Monica knowing that somebody is there supporting her, the animals
Yeah.
as well, right? Monica, I mean, they're picking up on that as well. They're realizing somebody does care about me, somebody does love me. They feel that energy. And so we have to remember that. We feel like, oh, this isn't going to work, or oh, yeah, this is a cool thing, but is it really going to help? And it does. And I'm so grateful to Monica for being open to this, for sharing this, for bringing it to her shelter and really wanting to do something to change the lives of the animals. And she's in a shelter where there's 500 dogs. It's really overwhelming. There's no end to the suffering of animals that are coming through, right, Monica?
Yeah, that's right. And often, I wake up in the morning and I'm often very worried and sad, and I don't know what will happen that day. But then I think, okay, I will just switch it to love and gratitude. And when I'm there with dogs, for example, I have one dog that I take out in a walk every morning. He's special, kind of. And I repeat it in my mind, all is well, all is well. We are safe, we are loved, all is well. And yeah, it brings peace to heart, and it's easier to deal with everything during the day.
Well, and also your energy, since you're bringing that peace to your heart and to your mind, then that's spreading out to the dog too. So when you're on that walk, then they're responding to that.
Yeah. It's not always easy. Sometimes you're just overwhelmed, but yeah, I try.
Well, thank you so much. But I'm so glad that Monica's here to share this because it's just a reminder, no matter how overwhelming the situation seems to be, there's always room for love. There's always room for just a miracle to happen. So don't give up hope, even when things seem really bad. Don't give up hope. Just always send love. And here, Monica, she's one of the shelter workers. You can see why it's so important for us to just let shelters know we're there for them, that we're supporting them, right? And so that kind of segues into why we're here. Like, how can we help these shelters without necessarily going into them if we don't have that? And we'll talk a little bit about when you do go in. So there's so many ways that you can help a shelter that without having to go in and face all of these animals, right? So maybe what you could do is you can collect donations for them, right? You can go collect blankets, you can collect food, you can, if you're on social media, you can do like a little, call out to your friends and family. Hey, I'm collecting food and blankets or old towels or whatever that is, whatever the shelter needs. And I would always I would go on the shelter's, their website, but I would also call the front desk and just ask them what, oh, wait. So Nicole said really fast, I have to get a call, but I'm heading to Reading Rangers on October 13th, Simi Valley, reading books to shelter dogs. Oh my gosh, Nicole, that is such a great, I don't know if you have 2 seconds to pop on and just talk a little bit about that, but, oh, there she is. Great. Oh, and you have to unmute. So let me ask you to unmute. Oh, still muted. Oh, there you go. Oh, gosh darn it. Oh, there you go.
There we go. Yeah, hi. It just synchronistically came on Facebook yesterday. Can anyone please take this activity at the Simi Valley shelter, which is a sister shelter to Camarillo? For 6 years at Camarillo, they've been doing this program called Reading Rangers, and it's where kids come on a little square of carpet in front of each shelter stall and read to the dogs. And so I'm gonna head that up on October 13th. So sharing that.
Yay. And that's a great way to bring, so just really curious, and I know you have to run, but
That's okay.
really quickly, how did like that, not, I know not all shelters have that program. Like how would someone start a program like that? Because that's really
So
cool.
yeah, and actually my brain's already going that if the first and third is the kids reading, how about if the second and fourth is adults sitting and doing a quiet meditation?
Yeah.
So what you do is you've got to talk to the management and you just say, I have some evidence from homeopathic chiropractor veterinarians that quiet time with animals increases cellular activity and healing. And I'd like to try this, and let's do like a demo where we have, 3 kids come and do this so that it's very low maintenance, very manageable, very simple protocol, and repeatable, very easily repeatable.
Yeah, I love that. Because really you don't have to get like a preschool or anything to get started. Also, while you were talking, I was thinking, what about like adults doing adult coloring? Because I know that that's one of the
Oh,
things we teach in the Let Animals Lead way, right? We have the Zentangles and we get the cheap little colored pencils from the dollar store, and then you
yes.
sit and color. And that also, it's really peaceful, it's really calming, and it's really calming to the animals. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's great. And that's good because I might even bring a few blank pages and some crayons in case there's a kid who wants to participate but can't read or
Right.
isn't reading yet. They could do the coloring. And yeah, I think, and it goes back to how I helped my son. He's a teenager, but he has socializing issues. And he reached out to ask friends, does anyone want to hang out? If you just get one friend who says, yeah, I'd like to hang out. So if you just get one kid who wants to come or one adult who wants to sit and do a meditation, show up and follow through with the
Yeah.
the date anyway, because if that one person comes consistently and does it a few times, it'll snowball into success.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you for taking time out of your day
Oh,
to do this and share. Really
thank you.
appreciate it.
I'll look forward to watching the rest of the meeting later.
Okay, well, good luck. Have a good day.
Thanks. You
Bye.
too. Bye.
So I love that so much. What a great idea, right? To if like maybe you have nieces and nephews, or if you can talk to the shelter. Now I know some shelters, they may not be set up for that. So you're really going to have to talk to, or maybe it's a shelter and you could talk to them and see about that. But there's other things you can do. Like I said, you can collect food, blankets, donate those, right, on a consistent basis. You can also, and shelters and rescues really need this, right? They don't have the manpower to go out and make phone calls and do these things, but there are local businesses that are more than willing to donate, let's say, a day's percentage of the lunch sales that they make at a restaurant to the shelter, right? It helps them to create goodwill in the community. Yes, exactly, Miranda. Taking a few people to the shelter just to meditate. You don't have to be an official volunteer to go into a shelter to meditate. You can just go in as the public and just stand with the dogs and just do some breathing, right? Just do some breathing, some Joshin Kokyoho breathing, and we'll do that breath today at the end of the call. But there's a lot of different ways that you can go in. So if you're willing to reach out to local businesses and see if anyone is willing to donate like a percentage of the day's proceeds from their sales to the local shelter. And obviously you need to contact the shelter first and see what they need and come to them with these ideas though. come to them with ideas so that they're not left to go, well, I guess you could do this, or just say, okay, what about this? What about that? And then they might go, oh, I don't know about this, but we do have this. So it will help them. You always want to make sure that you're going to be of service to them. And even when you make that first phone call, you want them to know that, hey, I want to help you. I don't feel comfortable coming into the shelter, or I don't have the means to come into the shelter like consistently, but I would love to make phone calls. And you can make donor phone calls, right? They have to call their donors and get donations. Or you can work a phone bank for them. If they have a phone bank during their pledge season, you could do that. Or you can say, hey, I'm going to call local businesses, and would this be a good thing? And what could the shelter give them any type of like, a thank you or something for doing that? You could find that out. But I think I remember when I was at Oregon Humane Society, that they needed help with that, and I helped. And we found a local movie theater who was willing to donate like 10% of their movie sales on a certain weekend when a big blockbuster was coming out. So there's ways that you can help in a huge way, right? Like that money, I didn't have to do anything for that money except for make a couple of phone calls and make sure that everything was set in place, right? But you don't have to actually give anything. And so if you're on a limited income like I am right now, then you really can't afford to donate financially, but you can definitely afford to donate your time. So another way that you can donate and help the shelter is you can contact companies. So like, let's say the shelter where you volunteer needs like those elevated beds. You can find the manufacturer of those beds, whatever they use, and say, would you be willing to give the shelter a discount or donate any type of beds? I remember Jamie Lee did this one time, and she got a company, and I can't remember what company it was, to donate beds to a small shelter that she was supporting. So you could get dog companies to donate food, or you could get just any kind of like maybe training device like the Martindale collars. Find out if they would be willing to donate to your shelter. Think outside the box and think of things that maybe the shelter is using that's costing them money that maybe could be possibly donated to them. That's a huge help to your shelter. And you don't have, again, you're at home, you're making phone calls. You don't have to do anything. If you don't have a lot of time or resources, you can definitely make some phone calls and just follow up. Just make sure that you're always following up. And if the company does say, yes, we will do this, just make sure you see it through to make it as easy as possible for the shelter. Another way you can help the shelter is if your shelter has a Facebook page or a social media page, and you're open to sharing what they're doing. You can also share, like if there's an animal that needs an adoption. I know that this happens a lot at some of the shelters where they have a time period before the dog or the cat or the animal has to be put down. So they'll put out a plea for an animal to get adopted. You can also share that plea in your community. You could start a network with people, right? And really get the word out so that that animal has a chance. I know that Shelley Seitz, one of our communities, she's a Sarah teacher. She's amazing. She has volunteered at a rescue at a shelter in Little Rock, Arkansas. And so what she does on her Facebook page is she'll take pictures of herself with whatever dog she's with that day. And then she puts, oh, this dog is up for adoption. And a lot of dogs have been adopted thanks to Shelley and her willingness to take pictures and promote it on her own personal page. And all of her friends know that that's what Shelley does. And I love Shelley, being a friend with Shelley on Facebook, because I just love seeing all these dogs. And don't forget, when we see these dogs, when we see this, and it makes us happy, right? Because Shelley's always smiling, which I think is really important. If you're going to post anything, if you're going to share anything, do it with a light heart. Do it with, oh my gosh, there's an amazing dog that needs a good home, and this is what it looks like. And we're hoping that you'll step up and help this animal out. Do it with love and joy, because the animal feels it, right? But if you're all doom and gloom, oh my gosh, this dog is going to die, blah, 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 and he's been this and that, and then this happened to him and that happened to him, that's not really helpful, because that's negative and the energy goes down and it's like this. But if you're really light, and people are encouraged by lightness, right? I read Shelley's posts and I'm like, oh my gosh, that dog sounds amazing. And you just want to adopt them. So Miranda or Monica says, people often forget, but every shelter, for example, needs everyday house stuff like cleaning detergents, paper towels, soaps, disinfectants, gloves, things like that. So it is also, oh my gosh, you know, Monica, I've never even thought of that. Thank you so much. See, we love having Monica. She's on staff, so she knows exactly what shelters need. And that's so true. You can call the shelter and find out what products do they use, because they might have certain products that they like to use for whatever purpose. Maybe they found that they were less toxic or whatever that is, but always gloves, different size gloves, latex gloves are always good. The shelters are always going through tons and tons of latex gloves, and they're expensive. They're usually about $20 for a box of 100, and that goes really fast. So you could get small, medium, large, and XL. Always be sure to get XL because there's usually men that are helping out too, and they need those bigger gloves. That's a great thing. Paper towels, that's huge. They go through so many paper towels at the shelter, you know, just cleaning up pees and accidents that happen in the hallways. That's such a great idea. And again, you're not having to go into the shelter, but you're making a huge difference to the operations and to the people, because guess what happens to the shelter staff? When they feel supported, they're happier, right? When they know that the community is out there and they're thinking, oh, and poop bags. Yep, that is true. So again, like reach out to your shelter, reach out to your local rescue, whoever that is that you feel needs your support, and then ask them, what, you know, what do you need? I was thinking of this, because I don't think a lot of times, Monica, they even put those things on their wish list. They put things like blankets or food or things like that. But you can definitely offer, like ask, hey, could I talk to somebody? Could I talk to the manager to find out what you need and how I can be of more service to you? So yeah, I love that. Also, what was another idea that I had? So we have the companies, you could, taking in a treat for, if you're a baker, if you love to bake. I'm a baker, I love to bake, so I would take scones to the shelter. And that's, I mean, it's huge, right? People are like, oh my gosh, they thought of us. It's such a huge thing. Even if they're not going to eat the sweets or whatever you brought, it's the thought. Somebody will eat it. Somebody on staff and the volunteers, they'll eat it. So if you want to do that, or if you want to bring in lunch or whatever that is, if you have the means to like buy lunch or bring in pizzas or whatever that is for them, call the shelter and see, hey, when would be a good idea for me to do this? You know, if you are in that kind of position where you could do that, but you don't have to spend money in order to support your shelter, and you don't have to go. Oh, you're welcome, Gwen. Thank you so much for coming. It was so good to see you. So Gwen volunteers a lot at her shelter too. So these are just some ideas of things that you can do and bring. And I just want to make sure that just sharing the news of your shelter. Also, the one thing, don't forget special events. So I know at the Oregon Humane Society, they have the Doggy Dash, and they always need people to help set up, to help check vendors in, to help direct people during the day of, to help break down. They always, to even help promoting it, they always need help, or to get prizes, right? So a lot of times your shelter will do special events and they need auction items or they need prizes to give out. Find out what do they need and then go out and help them get that. Or if you can volunteer that day, you usually have to, in order to volunteer at those type of things, you have to become a volunteer of the shelter. But I think that there are many of the shelters, if you say right away, hey, I can't come in with the animals, but this is what I want to do, they're always looking for volunteers to help. Also in the office, just making phone calls, documenting. I remember at the Oregon Humane Society, what I did was I documented the items that were coming in to the shelter because they needed somebody with office experience. And I was like, yeah, sure, I can do that. So I did that for them for a while. And that was really fulfilling. And they needed it. I mean, they had this huge room of stuff that just needed to be documented and then also valued, right? So I had to do some valuations on things, and some things were easy and some things were really cool and unique. Like there was some really neat china that was really rare that was donated to them. So you're kind of doing something fun for them, but it's work that they don't have the manpower to do. So they really rely heavily on volunteers to help them with that. So just look for those things that you can go in and volunteer. So Mel says, one of the local no-kill cat Kill Cat Shelters here has donation boxes, big wood cat boxes in 2 of the Hannaford supermarkets here, and people see it by items, yes, cleaning products, food, and they can drop them in on their way out. Yeah, you could find out. That's actually such a great idea, Mel, because you could find out from your local shelter. It's like, hey, what if we did this? And I'm happy to create the boxes, and I'm happy to go collect, and I'm happy to work with the grocery stores on this. So that's something like, if you're retired and you don't have a lot to do, that's something that you could definitely volunteer to do. And, I mean, one thing that I was really good at when I was an executive assistant for all those years, I love to think outside the box, right? There is no problem that cannot be solved. Think outside the box. And that's why I have these calls with you, to give you guys ideas of ways that you can think outside of the box, because what I'm telling you hopefully is going to click something in your head and go, oh yeah, I could do this. So like, the meditating with the animals. Thank you so much, Nicole, for bringing that up. Or the food boxes. Thank you so much, Mel. Or what Monica said, donate some cleaning supplies. And again, if you don't have the means to be buying supplies and donating them, contact the stores, find out what brands they use, contact Clorox. All of these huge companies, they have money put aside for donations. So if you call them and say, hey, would you be willing to donate, 10 bottles of, like, let's say Clorox spray to this shelter, just find out. The worst they can say is no. And what I love about doing this is they're not saying no to you, so you don't have to take it personally. And I love asking for other people. I hate asking for myself. I will not do it. I will go without, as opposed to asking for myself. I see Anne nodding her head. But when you ask for other people, it's so easy. Everybody's like, oh yeah, okay, either yes or no. If it's a no, who cares? You just go on to the next company. But I'm telling you, there are tons of companies out there. Try some of the more natural product companies, because they're usually more environmentally focused, and they're usually more focused as far as supporting their communities. So they might be willing to actually make a donation of product, or even a donation of money. I know PetSmart and all those other places, they set aside like little $1,000 grants for shelters. So that's another thing you can help with. You don't have to be a huge grant writer to help out with little grants like that. Find out if there's any businesses in your town that gives out local grants, and figure out what they need and help your shelter that way. Because remember, all of these shelters are really short-staffed, and they need volunteers. But a lot of times we think of, oh, volunteering, I have to go be with cats or dogs or the horses or whatever that is. You don't. There's so much you can do that's going to make a huge difference to these shelters that don't require you to go in physically. And so Anne says, when people are already buying stuff, it makes it simple at markets and retailers. Yes, exactly. So work with your shelter to find out if possibly they would be open to that, and then find a store that would also be open to that. So for care, for example, Publix is a big local grocery store chain here in Florida, and they donate all of the unsellable produce and meat that has been frozen, but is past its sellable date, but is still good meat. So Kristen gets a huge truckload every once in a while from Publix that has all kinds of frozen meat and all kinds of vegetables and fruits that they can then give to the animals. So the animals at Care get a really cool, very balanced diet because of the generosity of Publix. So that's something that if you know of a horse, or not a horse, a farm animal sanctuary, they can use things like carrots, tomatoes. Animals eat all kinds of, goats eat everything. So you can find out, or like hay too. Hay is a very expensive commodity. You can always find out if you can get a discount on hay for a horse rescue or for a farm rescue. So there's all kinds of ways that you can help without going in or without spending money. And I want to just do one more thing and just talk a little bit about, okay, if you do go in person, when we go in person and volunteer, I've heard this before, not so much, thankfully, lately, and maybe it's the way we're talking about volunteering, but I've heard this before, where people will go, oh, I want to volunteer at a, oh crap, I'm so sorry, you guys. So just one second. Okay. So I got to Florida. I rented a car. It's pouring down rain. It's lightning. I'm not used to this in the West Coast. We don't have lightning like this. It's lighting up the sky, all this. I'm driving in a car I don't know in the rain, and the speed limit's 70 miles an hour. And I went to Care to see Kristen, and then I came back here. So it was like 20 miles past the hotel and then back. And this morning I went out to put my parking pass from the hotel in my car, and the front tires of the car are completely bald. There is zero tread. I was literally in the rain, 70 miles an hour with front tires that had no tread. The back tires are fine. They have tread, but the front tires had zero tread. So I'm dealing with Avis, and they wanted me to go to Avis and take the car back. And I'm like, I'm sorry, no. And then like, okay, we'll give you a ride to Avis. And I'm like, no, you're going to bring me a car. So they're bringing a car, and I don't want to have to go off early. So hopefully they'll just wait for me. I don't know. Anyway, so going back to this, if you're, oh, really quickly, Mel had something to say about, so Mel says, yeah, I check those boxes periodically. And when I notice they have a lot in them, I email the shelter. I know they don't always have time to check. So a quick reminder, email is always appreciated. Oh my gosh, Mel, that is a great thing to do for the shelter. Just like, hey, didn't know if you knew, but your box, and do you need me to, sorry about that. Do you need me to bring it to you, right? You can always offer to bring it to them. So just think about all these little ways. And I love that, Mel. I love that you're so considerate, that you see that and you're like, oh yeah, they probably need help. I should email them. Make sure you're doing stuff like that. Reach out that way. But let's say you go into the shelter to volunteer. So this is what I was sharing before, is that I've heard people go, oh, I don't want to volunteer. I just want to do Reiki. And it's like, oh, well, there's a couple problems with that. The first problem is if you go in just to offer Reiki, you don't really know the lay of the land. You don't really know how things operate. You don't get to know and meet the other volunteers. And the other volunteers are going to be your biggest advocates. So when I was volunteering at the Humane Society Silicon Valley, I volunteered to work in the hospital. And that was really wonderful because I felt like that would be the best place for me with Reiki. And they didn't know what Reiki was. So what I would do is I would volunteer, I would clean cages, I would help organize, supplies and things like that. And then I would say, could I sit in the recovery room or in the just the holding room with the cats? It was for the cats. I didn't do it with the dogs. And just sit with them and do Reiki. And I explained what Reiki was. And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. But what happened was, because I was consistent every week doing this, they started to notice that some of the cats were a lot calmer, that they weren't as stressed out in the hospital, and they were recovering faster. So, and of course, they don't document this. They just say, oh, I noticed, but it's impossible to get any type of documentation, and that's okay. So what happened though was, because I was so helpful in the hospital, they got to know me, they got to like me, and then they were really supportive about telling me, oh yeah, can you sit with this cat, or could you sit with this with these animals here in the holding cell, because they seem to be calmer when you're around. And so even though they didn't know what Reiki was and they didn't know exactly what I was doing, they were so supportive of me and my ask, because I was supportive of them and what they needed. And really, if you want to be like supported and appreciated, and I know, Beth, I don't know if you want to unmute, because I know you've been with your shelter for years and you have probably a lot to say on this, but just how important it is to be a team player at the shelter. And you have to know what to do when a dog escapes or a cat gets out. There's protocols that you have to follow, right, Beth? You can't just scream and say dog out. You have to, like, there's things you have to do. So I don't know, Beth, if you want to talk, because you have so much experience with this, and you've been sharing Reiki at your shelter for a long time. I know Beth doesn't like to be put on the spot, but I'm going to. Since you're here, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Well, when you were talking, Judy comes to mind when you talk about the boxes in the stores, because she would always stop at the box at Hannaford's, and at least is my understanding, and scoop out that box no matter how empty it was and bring it up before she went. And I thought that was amazing. She's incredible with that shelter, but of course she's moved to Alaska. But when I go in, I just ask Lauren, is there anybody that needs special attention today? And when the woman who takes care of the dog bar is just amazing, and she will let me know if there's anything special I can do. I'll ask her, like help her clean the little the what do they call bond? Not bond. Those things. So there's something like that. They fill them with peanut butter. If I can do anything with those, or fold laundry, or help her finish up a cage, you know, or whatever they call them. But she's very generous with allowing me to do things with the dogs other than Reiki. And then what is it, you know, I ask her, is there anything I should know? And she'll actually ask me to sit in with the dog if the dog needs special attention. So basically what I do is, if I don't know somebody, I introduce myself, like the new director came, and I offered her a treat, you know, a Reiki session. And I just offer myself to them, including Hannah, the fundraiser. And I have, you know, just a, well, let me, you know, we call it the wolf stock. You know, I volunteered for wolf stock as well. So it's just simply, for me, it's just simply a matter of putting myself out there and asking.
Yeah. And that's hard sometimes. It's hard to put yourself out there, especially if you're new to the shelter, but it gets easier, right, Beth? Because I know you're a pretty shy person. So introducing yourself to the new director was probably a little intimidating, but you do put yourself out there and then it makes a difference. Don't you agree?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, you don't have to sneak in there like, oh, I'm here to do Reiki. You know, I'll just slither by, you know. Because people don't, you know, you're not walking the dog or playing with the little cat things, or, you know, stroking the animal with you in your lap, and, you know, you're just sitting there, you know. You know, the people who are visiting to adopt, they look at you, walk by you. So yeah, you feel like a part of, you know, when you're, and the people on the staff actually respect me and reach out and say, oh, you know, there's an animal that I really feel needs Reiki a lot. So yeah, it's become part of the team.
Exactly. Be part of the team. Because if Beth were just in there going, yeah, I only do Reiki, I don't do anything else, then people would be like, okay, how helpful is that? But when you're in there and you're like Beth and you're saying, what do you need? And how can I help? And, oh, I'm going to volunteer for the wolf stock, or I'm going to do this, you know, or she's going to fill the bongs, not bongs. It was kongs, but that was so funny. It's like, where's your head, Beth? She's talking about bongs for dogs. But you feel, you know, the kongs, whatever that is that they need, Beth is right there. And because she's right there and because she's being so supportive of them, then when she is doing her Reiki, they're supportive of her. And I had the same thing with the Humane Society of Silicon Valley. They got to know me through the hospital, but then when I was going through the training, the dog training, when I got to be a red flag or whatever the top, you know, for the most aggressive dogs, when I had gone through that training, then they came to me and said, oh my gosh, you know, there's a dog that's been here for so long. Could you please go sit with this dog? And they called it Reiki, and they didn't know what it was exactly, but they knew that the animals became calmer after being with me. And so that was really, really wonderful, not only for me, but for the animals and for them, because they felt supported and they knew that I was there for the good of the shelter. I wasn't there just for my own self and for my own, you know, whatever I'm doing. And I think that that's really dangerous if we say, oh yeah, I'm only here to offer Reiki. We have to show that we are part of the community and that we're supporting not only the animals, but we're also supporting the people, because when the people feel supported, their energy is better for the animals that are there. So I think that that's pretty much, if you're going to go in person, just make sure you're being a team player, that you're asking what it is that the shelter needs and how you can be of service to them. And then you can always do Reiki too. I mean, that's really easy to do. And don't forget, you can do distant Reiki. Even if you want to do Reiki with animals and you're not going into the shelter, let's say, but you're a follower of it, you know, you could make friends with somebody on staff or somebody who volunteers there, and then get the name or the pictures, or go to the website and find out, you know, which one needs the most support. So you would ask your volunteer friend or your connection who really needs the most support right now, and then start sharing distant Reiki with that animal and see what happens. And it's okay if nothing happens. That's all right. I mean, the fact that you're sending love and support to the animal makes a difference to the animal. And again, it makes a difference to the shelter, because like what Beth is experiencing, the more they get used to that, then they go, oh yeah, could you sit with this animal? This animal really needs this. They start to understand that this energy makes a difference. They don't know how it works. They don't know why it works. They don't need to. But what they do know is that you're bringing some peace. And I remember one of our Sarah teachers, Ann Noyce, she was going into her shelter, and she was only going in, I think it was kind of far from her. I think she was only going in once or twice a month. But when she would go in, they would say, oh, Anne, we're so happy that you're here, because when you're here, the energy is so calm. The animals are calmer, we're calmer, and it makes a huge difference, right? So know that you're making, even if they're not acknowledging it and they don't know what Reiki is, and they don't go, oh my gosh, your distance session helped save this dog. Doesn't matter. What matters is that you're helping, you're being of service, and you know that what you are doing is making a difference. Because like this peace project, I'm so glad we started it. And I have to thank Eileen Quealy. Eileen Quealy is someone who listens to the recordings. Big props to Eileen, because she's the one that reached out to me and said, hey, I feel like we should support Monica's shelter with, you know, energy by like doing like, maybe she was saying once a month. And I'm like, oh, once a month. For me, myself, if something's once a month, I am going to forget. I am not. But if we do it once a week, that's a consistent thing, right? And then when Kristen came on and she was crying about what's happening there, you know, lack of donations, she's losing one of her best employees, her only employee. Then I felt like, okay, let's try with Care and Monica's shelter. And oh my gosh, look what's happened in just 2 weeks. I mean, huge difference. So we can make, I mean, we have the ability to do this. And so here's one person, here's Eileen with an idea, and she reaches out, and look what's happened, because she had one thought, one idea, and she wasn't afraid to bring it up and share it. It's changed so much, right? So thank you so much, Eileen. Eileen Quealy, we want to give her big props and say thank you to her, because she's making a huge difference. Just one thought, one person, right? So for all of you, you're one person, one thought. And oh, it's Claudia, I thought you were raising your hand, but it's your little pillow behind you, and I don't have my glasses. But one thought, one person. And we can make, I mean, this is like, yes, Monica, thank you, Eileen. This is what we do, people, right? We're here to make the world a better place, but sometimes we don't know where to start. So knowing that you can help your shelter in these really just low-key ways is going to make such a huge difference for them. And don't forget, every Tuesday and Wednesday, Care is on Tuesday at 7 a.m. Monica's shelter, and I think it's Azil, I can never pronounce it, so I never want to butcher the name, but them on Wednesday at 7 a.m. This is a great way for you to just take a moment every Tuesday and Wednesday at 7 a.m. and just send love. Because when you do that over and over and over, guess what? You're going to be doing it more throughout your day. You're going to be doing it more throughout your week. You're going to think about your own shelter, your own rescue that needs your support. And you can go, oh yeah, you know what? There is a local like animal control in the United States, animal control. They can only hold animals for so much time before they have to euthanize them. I can send love and peace and joy to this animal control, and just do it every day at a certain time. Oh, it's shelter. It is Shelter Friends. Okay. So, but I don't know how to pronounce it, but so we'll call it Shelter Friends in Croatia. And yeah, so just think of what we've been able to do. You saw, I mean, if you haven't seen the video, there's a video, totally peaceful shelter environment. Eileen was the domino that started that, right? You're one little domino, but you're standing next to a bunch of different dominoes. So your one little movement can create huge change, huge, right? I mean, I look at what's happening at Shelter Friends in Croatia and I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, I know this stuff works, but when you have this kind of validation, you're like, oh, and it's encouraging, right? We want to be encouraged by this. We want to go, yes, this is possible. This is possible. So I don't know if anyone has anything they want to say or comment. I'm going to put this on, I'm going to try and put it on gallery view. If you want to say something, unmute, just start speaking up. Oh, here we go. Here's my view. And I'll put it on gallery. You can unmute, you can just raise your hand, whatever, just come forward and say something. And then we're going to go into a meditation. And so thank you all so much for being here and for staying with me. And I love seeing all of you. So there's Monica right there in my view. So why don't we do a meditation? So we're going to do the Joshin Kokyoho breathing. So some of you already know what that is. That is just when we breathe into our belly, we expand our breath at our belly, and then we slowly release our breath out our nose or our mouth, whichever you want. And you know what? I'm going to be honest. When I was first doing Joshin Kokyoho, because this is, we're connecting to the light within us and we're expanding that light outwards. When I was first learning Joshin Kokyoho, what helped me to expand the light outside of my body and feel it was breathing out my mouth. So you breathe in through your nose, you connect to the light at your hara, at your belly. And then on the out breath, you expand that light into your body and out into the space around you. So slowly breathing out my mouth, breathing in, and then using my mouth to breathe out really helped me to start to feel that energy going out. And the reason we do this meditation and the power behind Joshin Kokyoho is a couple things. One is when you breathe into your stomach, you're making a connection to the earth, to your grounded energy, to your stability, to your inner stability. So you breathe into your belly, you expand your belly, and you're connecting to that strength, that grounded energy. And then on the out breath, you're seeing your light, your beauty, and the light can be any color you see. It can be blue, purple, orange. It could be multicolored. It's your individual healing light. And so when you're expanding that light, just envision it going out. You are, and this is what this meditation brings to us, you are limitless. You are infinite. But we forget that. We think that we are finite because of our bodies and because we die. But your energy is infinite. And your energy can go out to the universe and be felt. So we're, you know, for those of us in America, Croatia is thousands of miles away, right? Yet we're affecting what's happening there through our energy. We're not moving. We're not doing anything. All we're doing is bringing them to our mind and boom, it's happening. So just remember that. We're going to, what I'd like to do is I'd like to dedicate this meditation to all the animals who are in natural disasters and in crisis, for those that we do know and those that we don't. And I want us to dedicate the energy to them. And you can, of course, dedicate the energy to anyone else too, but I think that our main focus should be these animals that really need our support and the people that care for them. And then you can add whoever else you want to, and know that they will also receive this beautiful, loving energy. So Joshin Kokyoho, we're just breathing into our belly, igniting a light at our belly, filling every cell of our body with that light, and then expanding that light out. And when we are going to expand it, I am going to also say our mantra, you are safe, you are loved, all is well. Maybe we won't say safe. Maybe what we'll say is, you matter, you are loved. How about you are important, you matter, you are loved, all is well. That's what I'll do. You are important, you matter, you are loved, all is well. Because that energy is true, right? We know that to be true because these animals matter to us. They're important, and they are loved, and all is well. Okay. So if I might mix it up a little, so just please forgive, but let us, so we are being recorded. Let us go into Gasho. And let's close our eyes to close out all outside distractions. And let us set our intent that we are open to receive whatever it is that we need most at this moment in time, reminding ourselves that we always need to give back to ourselves in order to be strong for others. So we open up ourselves to this beautiful energy that we're all creating together. And we set our intent that we are holding space for all the animals in crisis, all of the humans in crisis that love them and that care for them, all of the animals around the world that may be suffering due to disasters, be it natural or man-made, as in the war-torn areas. And whenever you're ready, you can bring your hands face up and face down, or face down. And I want you to just focus on, we'll do some cleansing breaths, breathing in through your nose, pulling your breath deep into your belly, expand your belly, and then slowly release your breath out your mouth. Do a couple more of those breaths and feel your body relax. With your out breath goes all stress and tension you might be holding on to. You're breathing in love and light, and you're breathing out stress and tension and anything that no longer serves you. And whenever you're ready, you can bring your breath back to a natural, calm state. Breathing in gently through your nose and breathing out gently through your mouth or your nose. Sometimes breathing out our mouth helps us feel that expansion of energy that we're going to be focused on, whatever is most comfortable for you. Now I'd like you to bring in your breath through your nose, pull your breath deep into your belly. And when your breath hits your belly, visualize it hitting your own beautiful healing light. And on the out breath, that light expands in your belly. Breathing in, your beautiful breath connects with your inner light. And on the out breath, you expand that light. Expand that light into every cell of your being until you are illuminated in the beautiful light that is your own. As you breathe in and out, feel your light expanding out into the area around you. Keep your focus on your light and on the expansion of your light. Your light is filled with love, joy, with peace. Your light is filled with wisdom and compassion. This beautiful, loving light is who you are at your core. It is your true self, your true being. And this is the light that the animals see. This is the light the animals connect to. Your beautiful inner light. And as you breathe in and out, feel your light becoming stronger and brighter. Your light can be gold or blue. Maybe your light is multicolored. Whatever light you see and feel, that is you. It is who you are at your core. And as you breathe in and out, envision your light expanding further and further out. You are like the sun. Your light is so bright. It's so powerful. Envision it going further and further out. Like the sun, your rays are infinite. Your light is infinite. Your light reaches dark places and brings hope and calm and love. You are infinite. You are expansive. Your light envelops the entire earth. Your light goes further and further out into the universe. And in this beautiful space, we are reminded that we are all one. And that when we spread love and joy, peace and happiness, others feel it. The earth feels it. Animals feel it. Humans feel it. You are a beautiful, healing, loving light. And you bring comfort. And bring to mind all of these beautiful, wonderful animals that need our support. And with your beautiful light, we remind them that they matter. They are important. They are loved. And all is well. And so we say in our mind, each of us individually, to these animals, you are important. You matter. You are loved. All is well. And keep the feeling and the energy of all is well and love. Keep it in your heart, in your energy, in your light. As you're sharing this beautiful light outwards, all are feeling this wonderful light coming in, this wonderful light of love and peace, of happiness. Even in the darkest places, there is always room for happiness. There is always room for joy. Your energy has the power to change this world. Envision all those affected by these disasters enveloped in light and love. See them happy, see them joyful. Bring a positive visualization, knowing that miracles are possible. Miracles happen every moment and every day. Whenever you're ready, bring your hands into Gasho. And let's set our intent that we're going to close our meditation, but not our hearts. And whenever we think of these animals, we're going to send love and light. Let us thank the animals for joining us. Let us thank ourselves for being here and being a part of this beautiful community. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and bring yourself back. Thank you all so much. That is so beautiful. It's so great to see you. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us again. It's so great to see you here. Claudia, I'm so glad you came. I haven't seen you in so long. And Alice, always lovely to see Alice from the UK. I know it's late for her, so I really appreciate her coming because it's very late for Alice. She's 9 hours ahead. Or no, you're only 6 hours now. But still, that's pretty late to be up and doing this. So thank you so much. And thank you, Beth, for contributing. I really appreciate that. And Monica, always, so appreciate you. And Anne, thank you. And you know what? Don't forget Anne's story, you guys, about how she did that meditation during the parade in Panama, and the horses calmed down and the fireworks stopped and the people calmed down. One person can make a huge difference. And Miranda, thank you so much coming from Aruba. And T, always great to have you here. Mel, thank you so much for contributing. And Dawn, so glad to see you. And I owe you an email, Dawn, and I will be sending that. I've just been traveling so much, but and Dawn has a wolf. Dawn has this great idea to help support Zebs. And in fact, I should talk about that just for a minute. Dawn volunteers at a wolf rescue, and I don't know, Dawn, if you want to unmute yourself, but Dawn, they're opening it up to the public. They don't normally open this dog or this wolf rescue up to the public, but they're opening it up to do kind of a oh my gosh, like a mindfulness, so that being peaceful and quiet and mindful around the animals. And they're doing it for the public so that they can learn how to be more mindful and calm. And so Dawn just took one of my classes at Zeb's Wish in Sandy, Oregon. It's a horse and mule rescue. And she proposed doing that there. So Zebs is going to be working on that. So another thing, you know, like if you have an idea or you've heard of another shelter doing something and you want to bring it to your own rescue, it's such a great idea. So thank you so much, Dawn. Thank you everyone for being here. Mel, I miss you. I love you. And I hope to connect with you soon. All right, everyone, have a beautiful day. Love you.
Thanks, Leah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.